and it was on the conservative side, but I had both of their classes. But the one that was on the more liberal side of the political spectrum, I definitely enjoyed his class. And then there were some other ones in both high school and college that I remember, including a young lady who I don't remember her name, but she taught us. It was a journalism class, but she actually taught creative writing. So we were actually learning how to do creative writing, because I remember writing a couple of satires. I wish I had the kind of material that we have now for satires. I mean, I had to deal with just satire dealing with Reagan and, pre-Reagan, which would have been like Nixon and stuff like that. But, I'm sure that if I was writing about our current situation, I could come up with all kinds of satirical material.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. So, to share a little bit more about the book, Maureen, and then I want to come back to Sharon as well, but you did talk a little bit about it, but just give us a little bit more of the outline of what the show will be like. We know that the teacher will play a primary role. I mean, we don't want to give away the whole amount of the book, and then also how folks can find out about the book when it is released so that they can buy a copy of it.
Oh, thank you so much. The title of the book is called It Is What It Is. And the main character is in a second career as a teacher, and she's hired as the rock star to help with test scores to be raised. She gets sick she gets very sick at the beginning of her school year, and then returns to school, and there's major politics with some of the administrators, some of the observations, and there's some drama in between some of the teachers. I do, because I have a background with special education, another minor character is a special education teacher that works with her, so we have like an inclusion model so that people could learn a little bit about what special education teachers do and general education teachers. And I also have a school nurse who's going to support the main character in her medical issues outside of school. And then there's going to be an overwhelming arc with a mentor teacher who's set to retire, who's not well, and he's going to mentor all of the new teachers in the district. So I really wanted the book to have the main character interact positively and negatively with different administrators, different roles in the building. And I don't want to ruin anything after that. So it hopefully will be coming out over the summer. I'm hoping. It all depends on the pandemic.
Gotcha. And is it going to be a mystery? Are we talking like something that has to be solved, or is it going to be like a romantic comedy? What genre will it fall under?
It's under contemporary fiction, and there is there's a mystery element to it. Yeah, there's a lot of twists and turns throughout her very first year as a teacher. So, and there's only one child in the book, so it's really about the adults interacting in the building. It's about the culture of a school. It's a public school system, so it taps into a lot of themes that I've experienced and many people experience, working in a culture in a public school. So I hope people take away a lot of information about teaching and also about the different roles, because I don't think many people know that teaching, there's many different types of teachers. There's special educators, there's general educators, there's so many different, there's reading specialists, there's so many valuable people that encompass a school. So I really wanted to try to bring up all of those important people, including a school nurse who's pivotal to the safety of the students and the adults in that building.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that people forget, particularly on the... Go ahead, Yvonne.
I was saying that everybody in the educational setting is a teacher. Like all my teachers were not good experiences, but then I learned from them what not to do. But everybody I found in the educational environment, the counselor, like what she's talking about, the relationship amongst themselves in that educational environment, you can be very rich and rewarding. It doesn't have to be your particular teacher who's teaching you math that reaches you. It could be that counselor that reaches you. It could be somebody else in that academic environment that you connect with.
Exactly, and I really wanted to enrich the book with a lot of different roles that people may not, consider or not think about as much. So, thank you for saying that. Yes.
Yeah, because one of the things I think people forget is I have a cousin who is an athletic director in Raleigh. He's actually an athletic director at Southeast Raleigh High School and everything. But people oftentimes forget that the athletic director and the coaches and things of that nature are oftentimes also teachers. I mean, they're not always teaching just strictly PE. I mean, yes, sometimes they're teaching PE, but sometimes they're teaching math, they're teaching science. They might even be teaching English. A lot depends on what their background was in their academic career when they went to college and everything. But a lot of people, they see them in that coaching role, but they forget about them in the teaching role until their student is actually in those classes. And then they're like, wait a minute, assistant athletic director body is my math teacher, or so-and-so coach is my history teacher. So a lot of times I do think that we forget about the different other roles that teachers might play even in the school system, because, like I said, a lot of times the coaches are teachers as well.
Life skills. They teach them life.
Exactly. And a lot of times they wear many, many hats. As you were saying, the physical education teachers are often health teachers, or they have they're certified in many, many different areas, so they can really teach a lot of different subjects and content areas. So that's why I really am writing the book. I really wanted to have these characters have a very a very multi-dimensional, information about them, and really have fleshed them out so that people don't just see, okay, she's a math teacher or a third grade teacher, but there's a lot to teaching language arts. There's a lot to teaching technology. It's not just and it's all collaborative too. All of these schools, it's so important that everybody's a team and working together for the betterment of the kids.
Yeah, definitely. I was just wondering, Maureen, what is your thoughts been on standardized testing? I actually worked for a while, and we actually, because nobody's doing standardized testing right now in terms of the end-of-the-year test, so the companies I work with, Measurement, is actually not doing any testing this year, but I have done it for a number of years. But I was just wondering what your thoughts were about standardized testing, because I know that has been something that some teachers are fans of, some teachers aren't. I was just wondering what your own personal take on standardized testing was.
Well, I think the last 10 years of standardized tests, they really were not meeting the children's needs at all. And it was very unfair. Again, I come from a special ed perspective. It's very hard to assess a student with a reading disability or a writing disability on grade level when they're not on grade level. It's very, very hard to do that. I understand the need for some type of assessment, but I think the last tool that was used on the computer, I think the teachers were really struggling with the Common Core, at least here in our state, and getting through the curriculum and teaching strategies on how to take the test. It was really tough, very, very difficult. So, and a lot of times yes, the scores are important for state reasons, but on a micro level in the classroom, you're really working on all these children's individual strengths and weaknesses and trying to build on those. It's very tough. It's a tough balance.
Yeah, because I'm actually wondering if Mona was talking about some of the things that could come good out of this whole coronavirus thing. That's one of the things that I'm wondering if that might not be a plus in what we're going through, because I'm thinking that because the parents are having to be more involved in teaching as we're doing more of this virtual at-home kind of variety, that it's more of a hands-on kind of teaching. And to me, that's always been the best kind of teaching. I know that the first time that my nephews got to go out, and this was before they even went to school, with my dad, their granddad, and they were being shown like Mother Nature kind of thing. And that was, I want to say, when they were like 1 or 2, and they were very engaged. So I'm thinking that because of what's going on, we may find more people becoming more engaged in education, because you're actually, the parents may be having to do their business meetings at home, but the school kids are also having to do their education, which means that the parents are being a little bit more hands-on.
I agree, and I think they're also going to value the teachers more. I kept reading a lot of reading a lot of comments on the first day of virtual learning. I think it was really what they're calling it, and parents were throwing their hands up. They didn't know how to help their kids because the techniques and strategies are very different than when we were younger. You're not talking about basic math anymore. There's a lot of different formulas. There's a lot of different styles of teaching different things that parents have no idea about. So I do feel like the value of teachers changed very quickly once they saw the content that the kids were working on. I know my niece and my nephew and many people that I've been talking to who have children now, they're working 4 or 5 straight hours a day. A lot of work to keep up with the rigor of the expectations. So I would hope that there's a more appreciation of teachers, and I think also too, I hope at the end of the day, maybe the kids being home with the parents conversely will help the parents and the adults a little bit more with technology. I mean, the kids quite often are on the phone or they're on the laptop or on the iPad, and maybe this will help build a little bit more of a bridge and more engagement within families. I'm trying to be optimistic. I think that maybe that'll come out of it, too.
I'm hoping that that's one of the positive things that will come out of it. Sharon, I was just wondering, do you think that you're seeing more people being more concerned about etiquette and things of that nature? I mean, I don't know how much etiquette is going to be that important of an issue when we're all kind of pretty much in our own individual homes. I mean, I'm in an apartment, single gentleman, so it means it's just basically me. I don't even have a dog, unlike Mona. And but other folks have other, very confined natures of who they're doing etiquette with. But then I've also heard reports, and I wish I had one of my friends on that was a police officer or something like that there are more people that are doing negative parts of interactions because of the fact that they are confined. So I've heard that in some cases domestic violence and some other things are up because there are no outlets and everything, and even some of the things with alcohol. But I was just wondering what your thoughts are in terms of whether etiquette is being taught in these virtual environments, and whether you think etiquette will be something that we'll see even more of a bump and need of once we come out of this.
The only etiquette we're focusing on now, because the world has changed so much, Mark, is a virtual meeting etiquette. So, for example, most people are using Zoom or WebEx. There's a certain etiquette involved with that. For example, wear clothes. Some people show up at these meetings with no shirts on or in their pajamas. So there's a certain etiquette for if it's a business meeting and you're online, what is the etiquette as far as turning off your, muting yourself, unmuting yourself? It's a whole new world. So it's something that we haven't focused on, but this is the etiquette of today. How do you communicate properly? We're using proper etiquette with an online meeting. Brand new, Mark, brand new.
And you're absolutely right, because I was actually in a Zoom meeting, and it was actually, we're talking about guys doing it, but women can be just as guilty, because I was in a Zoom meeting, and I'd actually thought about the Zoom meeting, and I went and grabbed some slacks and some other a nice shirt and, try to put on something. The one thing I will say is that I'm really hating about this whole pandemic and certain businesses that being out is that I like my beard and mustache, but I don't like it when I start doing the Santa Claus look, which is kind of like where I'm at now because the barbershop are closed and everything. So I'm not really feeling that part of and everything. I'm really wanting the governor to lift the barbershop restriction, if nothing else, just so I can go see my barber. But that's neither here or there, but I will say that when I had the Zoom meeting, I did throw on some slacks, threw on a shirt, but I do remember somebody else being in the meeting, and they were literally laying on their mattress, and I'm sitting there in the back of my mind, I'm like,
no.
That's terrible.
I mean, given they were closed, but they were still on their mattress. No. I mean, they weren't like at their desk or somewhere that you would think of a more traditional place. They were laying on their mattress.
Oh, isn't that
Can
awful?
I just say, though?
But that's what we're talking about.
I must confess, though, I don't think I've ever been happier than ever before to not have kids. I'm just like, you know what? I'm so glad my dog is here and she's 5. I don't have to do homework with her. There's no virtual homework. There's no, she's not driving me crazy. It's a great time to not have kids, is what I'm trying to get at.
I can understand that, Mona. But the one thing that I will say that Sree mentioned it on his show, and I was wondering if the case with your dog, is that some people are cutting down on the amount of walks because I guess, with the stay-at-home orders and things of that nature. I want to say that Sree had said that he used to walk his dog 4 or 5 times in New York, but now he's walking them twice, and I don't know how the dog feels about that, but I was wondering if your dog was being walked less, and how does she feel about that, or he?
She's a really sweet girl. She's very chill. I literally walk her like maybe twice a day. But I was walking her twice a day before anyway, so not much has changed. So that's